There's a structure that's been built for over 140 years, and it's still not finished even now. People have spent massive fortunes to build things that go way beyond normal needs. One of them was built for love. Others were for faith, or to show off the power of an entire empire. Some structures were put up back when modern machines didn't even exist. But their scale and precision still make engineers today pay attention. This is a journey to explore the greatest man-made wonders in the world. The masterpieces that changed how people understand the limits of building. Sagrada Familia, Spain. Sagrada Familia is seen as a symbol of Barcelona's greatness and devotion. This is an architectural masterpiece that took over 140 years to build. The project is mostly built using donations and ticket sales from visitors. In 1936, the Spanish Civil War burned down many drawings and smashed Antoni Gaudi's models. The leftover plaster pieces were later put back together to restore the design. Today, architects use 3D models to continue Gaudi's complex shapes. Stone blocks are precisely cut by machines and then lifted to the upper levels of the church. In February 2026, the central highlight was finished, making this place the tallest church in the world. Pope Leo XIV praised the Sagrada Familia as a powerful lesson in faith built from stone, color, and light. On top of the tower is a cross nearly 56 feet tall, covered in glass and white ceramics. Colosseum, Italy. With a capacity of up to 80,000 people, the Colosseum was once considered the largest arena built by the Roman Empire. The arena has an oval layout, 620 feet long and 512 feet wide. The estimated capacity reaches tens of thousands of people. The audience was seated in tiers based on social status. A system of stairs, hallways, and exits helped crowds move without getting stuck in one spot. Below the arena floor is a network of tunnels, animal cages, and lifting devices. The structure was finished in the year 80 under Emperor Titus. Earthquakes and stone mining caused a large part of the original structure to disappear. But what is left still shows that Rome once turned mass entertainment into a massive architectural system. Notre-Dame, France. This building is located on the Ile de la Cité island in the middle of the Seine River, right in the center of Paris. Notre Dame was started in 1163 and took almost 2 centuries to finish. At the main nave are 2 towers about 230 feet tall. The whole body of the church stretches out in the shape of a cross. In the south tower, the church's main bell, named Emmanuel, weighing over 14 tons, has rung during every major turning point in French history. Notre Dame also holds priceless treasures, from the crown of thorns of Jesus to the largest 18th century pipe organ in France. In 2019, a fire destroyed the entire roof and collapsed the main spire. Over 2,000 craftsmen, engineers and experts then joined in to restore the building. After 5 years, the nearly 330-foot-tall spire was put back into the Paris skyline, marking the rebirth of a heritage site that has lasted for over 8 centuries. St. Peter's Basilica, Vatican. This is one of the greatest architectural achievements of the Renaissance, and the scale of St. Peter's Basilica shows why. The basilica spreads over 236,000 square feet, with a giant dome reaching nearly 460 feet into the Vatican sky. The project went through many generations of Europe's top architects over 120 years of construction. The dome alone, shaped by Michelangelo, became one of the biggest engineering feats of the 16th century. Right at the steps, 2 giant stone statues of St. Peter and St. Paul mark the entrance to one of the most sacred spaces in Catholicism. For Catholics, St. Peter's Basilica isn't just an architectural masterpiece, but also the spiritual heart of the Church. This place is tied to St. Peter and the most sacred moments of faith throughout the centuries. Meenakshi Amman Temple, India. Meenakshi Amman Temple looks like a city of stone statues right in the middle of Madurai. The complex is almost 15 acres wide and is surrounded by 14 Gopuram towers. The South Tower is over 164 feet tall. Each tower is covered with thousands of figures of gods, warriors, animals, and mythical creatures. They are stacked in multiple layers from the base of the tower to the top. The architecture of the temple mimics the human body. The foundation represents the feet. The walls form the body. The golden peaks are the top of the head. The challenge of the building wasn't just to build high. The artists also had to place thousands of statues on the tower faces while keeping the layout clear. Every day, thousands of believers walk through this hallway system. The temple still runs as a living religious center, not a closed-off monument. Leaning Tower of Pisa, Italy. The Leaning Tower of Pisa is famous for a mistake that happened right while it was still being built. The tower is about 184 feet tall and has 8 floors. Rings of marble columns wrap around its cylindrical body. But the foundation is only about 10 feet deep. Underneath is a soft layer of soil made of sand, clay, and sediment. When the first few floors went up, one side started sinking. The building tilted before construction was even finished. Architects later adjusted the height of the upper floors to balance it out. This fix made the tower's body slightly curved instead of a straight line. At the end of the 20th century, engineers had to suck out dirt from under the higher side of the foundation to reduce the tilt and keep the tower from falling over. A geological flaw created the shape of Pisa. Modern engineering helps that flaw stay there without destroying the structure. Acropolis, Greece. The Acropolis doesn't impress with absolute size alone. Its power comes from its level of influence. High on a rocky hill in the middle of Athens, the Greeks from the 5th century BC made a complex including the Parthenon, the Propylaea, the Erechtheion, and the Temple of Athena Nike. The proportions, the column spacing, and how the building blocks talk to each other became an architectural standard that lasted for over 2,000 years. UNESCO notes the special impact of the Acropolis from Greco-Roman times all the way to modern neoclassical architecture. So, the greatest thing here isn't just the stones left standing. The Acropolis created a language of architecture that parliaments, museums, courthouses, and buildings of power all over the world still keep using today. Plaza de España, Spain. Plaza de España was built like a map of Spain, out of brick, water, and colored ceramics. The square takes up about 538,000 square feet in Seville. The main building curves into a semicircle and opens towards the Americas. A canal over 1,640 feet long runs along the building. Four bridges cross the water, representing the four historical kingdoms of Spain. At the base of the building are azulejo ceramic tiles. Each tile setup uses maps and images to show a province of the country. The project was prepared for the Ibero-American Exposition of 1929. The architect had to combine many different regions into one united layout. The result is not just a square. It is a miniature picture of the whole nation arranged around a semicircular axis. Angkor Wat, Cambodia. Few buildings are so great that they become a symbol on a country's national flag, like Angkor Wat. Built in the 12th century, Angkor Wat spreads over about 17,200 square feet. Note, if your original number is 1,600 square kilometers, the figure would be over 600 square miles, while in reality, the main temple complex is about 1.6 million square meters, equal to nearly 400 acres. Angkor Wat is the largest religious building ever created by humans. Surrounding it is a moat system nearly 3.4 miles long. Giant sandstone blocks were transported, fitted together tightly, and handled with amazing precision in a time without modern machines. After the architecture was done, Khmer artists continued to carve detailed reliefs directly onto the walls and hallways. Nearly 9 centuries later, the hallways, stone towers, and giant reliefs still stand strong, making Angkor Wat clear proof of the Khmer Empire's incredible ambition. Neuschwanstein Castle, Germany. Neuschwanstein looks like a medieval castle, but it was built with an industrial age mindset. Ludwig II laid the foundation stone in 1869 to turn the world of knights and German legends into a place you could walk right into. To create a flat surface, workers had to peel away up to 26 feet of rock from the mountainside. As the building went up, steam-powered cranes lifted materials high up. Inside, there were also steel frames, a hot air heating system, and industrial steel door frames. This exact paradox is what makes Neuschwanstein different. This isn't a leftover ruin from the Middle Ages. It is a medieval dream built using the most modern tech the 19th century could offer. Taj Mahal, India. The Taj Mahal started from a personal loss, but ended up as a statement of an entire empire. In 1632, Shah Jahan ordered the tomb to be started in memory of Mumtaz Mahal. Instead of just relying on pure scale, the building's power lies in absolute control. The line of symmetry guides the eye through the garden to the white marble block. The decorations aren't just painted on the surface. Precious and semi-precious stones were cut and then set right into the marble using the pietra dura technique, creating flowers and leaves that last through centuries. UNESCO sees the Taj Mahal as the peak achievement of Mughal architecture. What makes it great isn't just the love story. It is the way a private emotion got turned into almost perfect order, materials, and proportions. Abu Simbel, Egypt. Abu Simbel is a wonder that mankind basically had to build twice. Over 3 millennia ago, under Ramses II's rule, 2 temples were carved right into the Nubian cliffs. By the 20th century, the Aswan High Dam put the area at risk of going underwater. Instead of just losing them, an international campaign run by UNESCO took the temples apart into huge blocks, moved them, and put them back together at a spot about 197 feet higher. A total of 22 monuments and complexes in Nubia were saved in this multi-year campaign. Because of this, Abu Simbel tells two engineering stories at once. Ancient Egyptians turned rock mountains into temples. Modern humans then lifted that whole heritage out of rising waters so it could keep existing. Forbidden City, China. The Forbidden City isn't just a palace. It was designed like a massive power machine right in the middle of Beijing. During construction, stone blocks weighing over 110 tons were transported for dozens of miles on man-made ice roads. The project was finished in 1420 and became the center of power for 24 emperors over more than 500 years. The deeper you go inside, the more restricted the space gets, clearly showing the empire's hierarchy. More than 600 years later, the Forbidden City still shows something rare. Power can be built into architecture. Palace of Versailles, France. Under Louis XIV, the Palace of Versailles was seen as the center of power for France. Every detail was made to show off the king's wealth and authority. The Hall of Mirrors is about 240 feet long and holds 357 mirrors. In the 17th century, this was a display of France's tech and craftsmanship against Venice. But the biggest ambition is in the garden. Versailles didn't have enough natural water for its massive number of fountains. So, engineers had to build the Marly machine and a huge water delivery system. Even the trees, lakes, and pathways are arranged in an exact order. At Versailles, people didn't just build a palace, they completely redesigned nature to serve power. Registan Square, Uzbekistan. Registan is made up of 3 giant Islamic schools facing a shared square. The Ulugh Beg Madrasa showed up first in the 15th century. The front is covered in blue ceramic tiles and geometric patterns looking like a starry sky. Behind the gate are classrooms, living quarters, and a courtyard. Math, astronomy, and theology were once taught here. Two centuries later, Sherdor and Tilakari were added. The three buildings aren't from the same time period, but they are lined up to create an enclosed space. Tilakari also takes care of another function. It is both a school and the square's mosque. Registan shows that Samarkand didn't just hoard goods on the Silk Road. The city also used architecture to focus knowledge, religion, and power into one single place. Trevi Fountain, Italy. The Trevi Fountain is where an ancient aqueduct ends at an 85-foot-tall stone wall. The fountain is nearly 161 feet wide and takes up most of the Trevi Square. It was built directly into the front of the Palazzo Poli. The water comes from the Aqua Virgin. This aqueduct dates back to the Aqua Virgo, built by the Romans in 19 BC. Architect Nicola Salvi's challenge was to turn a water supply point into a complete architectural setup. He put Oceanus in the center Seahorses and tritons show up on both sides. The stone blocks at the bottom are shaped like they are being ripped open by the water. Trevi doesn't hide its function. It turns the water's journey from the edge of Rome into a stone stage, right in the middle of the city. St. Basil's Cathedral, Russia. St. Basil's Cathedral looks like a single building, but on the inside, it's actually a bunch of chapels grouped together around a central core. Ivan IV ordered the church to be built in the 16th century to celebrate the victory over the Khanate of Kazan. The architects had to fit multiple worship spaces onto a narrow plot of land in Red Square. They fixed this by putting up separate chapels, connecting them with hallways and stairs. The onion domes are not the same. Each dome has its own shapes, swirls, and patterns. The colors you see today were added through many later stages. Legend has it that Ivan IV had the architect blinded so the building could never be recreated. Cathedral of Florence, Italy. It is a famous symbol of Gothic and Renaissance architecture in Florence, Italy. The dome span was so wide that a traditional wooden truss system was pretty much impossible. In 1420, Filippo Brunelleschi started solving that problem in a way no one had ever done before. He built the dome without needing a giant wooden support system, while also designing lifts, winches, and cranes to get materials up high. 16 years later, the dome was done. To this day, it is still the largest brick and stone dome in the world. Florence didn't just get a church. This city owns the moment architecture stepped out of the Middle Ages limits and moved straight into the Renaissance. Potala Palace, Tibet. The Potala Palace doesn't just start being overwhelming from the inside. Just building a palace complex on the Red Mountain in the middle of Lhasa at about 12,140 feet high was already a statement of power. Blocks of buildings made of stone, wood, and earth are stacked on the mountainside, creating the White Palace and the Red Palace. One part serves the government and the lives of the Dalai Lamas. The rest is for shrines, rituals, and Buddhist spaces. It is this mix of palace, fort, and monastery that makes Potala have almost no equal copy. For many centuries, this place didn't just look down on Lhasa. It was the center where Tibet's worldly power and spiritual life existed together in one single piece of architecture. Alhambra, Spain. Looking from the outside, the Alhambra almost intentionally hides its details. Rough defensive walls surround a palace city that the Nasrid sultans grew over many generations. Step past them and everything changes. Courtyards, reception rooms, geometric patterns, and carvings are organized with an almost obsessive precision. But the least seen achievement is the water. In the middle of a fort on a hill, an aqueduct system feeds fountains, bathhouses, and the gardens inside. At the Court of the Lions, water is even controlled to flow in a thin layer around the fountain. The Alhambra turned water engineering into architecture, and then turned architecture into one of the peaks of Islamic art in Europe. Hagia Sophia, Turkey. Hagia Sophia was built in the 6th century, but its ambition is like a building ahead of its time. From 532 to 537, Anthemius of Tralles and Isidore of Miletus created a giant space under a dome that seemed to hang in mid-air. That very dome became Constantinople's engineering statement. The building's influence didn't stop at Byzantine. For many centuries later, Hagia Sophia became the model for a whole line of churches, and later, many Ottoman mosques. Few buildings have ever gone through so many layers of history while still keeping a central spot in a city's skyline. This is where the tech, religion, and power of two empires left their mark in a single dome. Pyramids of Giza, Egypt. The Great Pyramid of Giza forces us to look back at the limits of the ancient world. Built as a tomb for Pharaoh Khufu over 4,500 years ago, the structure was originally about 481 feet tall. It held the title of the world's tallest structure for about 3,800 years. But that number is just the easy part to get. Millions of stone blocks had to be mined, moved, lifted, and set into a massive geometric shape during a time without modern motors or cranes. Even today, the whole building process still hasn't been completely explained. Giza is also the only surviving wonder of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Few buildings prove more clearly that human organization, math, and ambition hit incredible scales from millennia ago. Petra, Jordan. Petra isn't just a city built in the desert. The Nabateans turned sandstone itself into architecture. Huge facades were carved right into the cliffs, while temples, tombs, and standalone buildings spread out among the canyons. But the thing that let a major city exist here is almost invisible. Canals, reservoirs, tunnels, and diversion dams gathered the rare water and handed it out all through the city. Thanks to this, Petra became a major caravan hub, linking Arabia with Egypt and the Mediterranean area. Petra's greatness comes from two conquests at the same time. The Nabateans didn't just carve stone into a capital. They also made a bone-dry land have enough water to feed an entire civilization. Sydney Opera House, Australia. The Sydney Opera House started with a drawing so beautiful that engineers didn't even know how to build it yet. Jørn Utzon's curved shell roofs won the design contest in 1957, but their shapes quickly became the project's hardest puzzle. After years of testing, the answer showed up when the roofs were developed from pieces of the exact same sphere. That let them be standardized into precast concrete parts and actually made them buildable. The building then became a turning point for 20th century architecture. What makes the Opera House great isn't just Sydney's famous skyline. It is proof that a shape that was once almost impossible to build can force engineering to step up just to keep up with imagination. Himeji Castle, Japan. Himeji Castle looks so elegant that it's easy to forget it was designed to make attackers fail. The leftover complex has 83 buildings, linked by walls, gates, towers, and carefully calculated defense lines. The path into the central area doesn't run straight. It forces strangers to keep changing direction between layers of architecture, while the defending forces control the access points. Above it all is a wooden building masterpiece, brought together by white plastered walls and multiple roof levels. UNESCO sees Himeji as the finest surviving example of early Shogun-era Japanese castles. This very contrast is what gives it power, a military fort designed with a look so light that it seems like a piece of art. Machu Picchu, Peru. Machu Picchu wasn't just placed on top of a mountain. The Incas pretty much turned the mountain into a part of the city. about 7,970 feet up, the walls, yards, ramps, and terraced fields cling to the Andes terrain instead of forcing it flat. These terraces both expanded usable space and helped control water and stabilize the slopes. The ceremonial, living, and farming areas are divided up in an organized layout. UNESCO calls this an urban, architectural, and engineering masterpiece of the Inca civilization. The most incredible thing is that the line between the buildings and nature almost disappears. Machu Picchu didn't conquer the mountain by tearing it down. The Incas made the whole city work like a natural extension of the Andes slope itself. Leshan Giant Buddha, China. The Leshan Giant Buddha wasn't brought to the side of a mountain. The mountain itself was carved out to become the Buddha statue. Since the 8th century, Tang dynasty craftsmen dug deep into the cliff where 3 rivers meet and made a statue 233 feet tall. That scale makes the human body practically vanish when standing at the statue's feet. But the secret that helps this piece survive doesn't lie in its giant face. Gutters and drainage pipes are hidden in the hair, ears, and body to channel rainwater out, easing the wear on the stone. This is a rare mix of sculpture and building preservation engineering. Over 1,200 years later, Leshan still shows something unbelievable. Humans didn't just carve a statue into a mountain. They designed the entire mountain so the statue could survive through time. Temples of Baalbek, Lebanon. At Baalbek, the biggest question isn't about what the Romans decorated on the surface. It lies at the base of the temples. The platform of the sanctuary is made from massive stone blocks, including a monolith weighing over 880 tons. Above them once stood the columns of the Temple of Jupiter, with pillars about 66 feet tall surrounding the shrine. Next door, the Temple of Bacchus is still impressive with its sheer scale and heavy carvings. All of this was built at a major religious center of the Roman world in what is now Lebanon. Baalbek makes ancient engineering visible in a very direct way. Before thinking about the beauty, viewers have to face a more basic question. How could humans move and put stone blocks weighing hundreds of tons right in their exact spots? Chichen Itza, Mexico. Chichen Itza doesn't belong to just one single moment of the Maya people. The city grew over almost a millennium and became a place where two major traditions met. Mayan building techniques blended with features from central Mexico, making a Maya Toltec style that influenced the whole Yucatan area. El Castillo rules the center area, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. All around it are the Temple of the Warriors, the Great Ball Court, and El Caracol, a round building tied to watching the sky. So, Chichen Itza isn't just a collection of pyramids. It is a place where architecture records how a civilization organized religion, power, and its understanding of the universe. The stone blocks here act almost like a giant archive of Mesoamerican thinking. Agra Fort, India. This massive structure is like an epic tale made of red brick, recording every chapter of the Mughal Empire's power. The fort takes up nearly 4.1 million square feet, about 94 acres. The walls are over 65 feet high and stretch for about 1.5 miles. Through the Amar Singh Gate is a network of palaces, courtyards, and hallways. Most of this space once served the power machine of the Mughal Empire. Under Akbar's rule, the building mainly used red sandstone. By Shah Jahan's time, many areas were replaced with white marble and colorful stone inlays. Thousands of buildings used to exist inside the fort. Only a part of them still stands today. Agra Fort wasn't just used for defense. It packed palaces, treasuries, military zones, and the empire's command center behind a single layer of walls. Over thousands of years, humans have turned stone, steel, and seemingly impossible ideas into wonders that leave the whole world amazed. But if you could only see one wonder with your own eyes, which place would you pick? Leave your choice down in the comments. And if you want to keep exploring the greatest things mankind has ever created, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and join us on our next journey.